What's up guys, my name is Ace, and welcome back to another Black Ops 7 gun guide. In today's episode, we're going to be diving deep into the stats of the DS20 Mirage, as well as its underbarrel grenade launcher, and toward the end of the video, I'm going to be sharing some excellent attachment combinations to use with this gun. And starting it off, as always, let's have a look at our rate of fire, which is a little on the slower side for an assault rifle at 625 rounds per minute. And this gun is going to be a 4 to 5 shot kill to the body. So while there are 3 damage ranges, the second 2 ranges are both 5 shot kill ranges. And what this means for our time to kill potential is in that maximum damage range with a 4 shot kill, we're killing in 288 milliseconds, which is slightly worse than average for an assault rifle. It's not terrible in this area, it's just not an area where I'd say it excels. However, at longer ranges, it does excel when it comes to time to kill because it maintains that 5 shot kill potential, and therefore we have our fastest time to kill at long range for an assault rifle at 384 milliseconds. As for headshots, up close, you need all 3 bullets to hit the head to get a 3-shot kill, so not really worth going for up close. And at a distance, it's going to require 2 headshots mixed in with body shots to help. Generally speaking, I wouldn't bother going for headshots unless you're going for camos on this gun, unless an opportunity really presents itself. Now after that, let's have a look at our damage ranges, and our 4-shot kill potential is pretty decent for a maximum damage range on an assault rifle at 23 meters, and then beyond that, it'll be a 5-shot kill, again, out to infinity. And again, once you start getting to the longer ranges, that's quite impressive. Also, when it comes to our bullet velocity, we're just a little bit above average for an assault rifle at 720 meters per second. That generally won't be much of an issue for you, in the 6v6 maps at least. And now let's have a look at our barrel attachments, and we can see we get a really nice boost to our ranges with long barrel at 38%. The velocity barrel gives us a 35% boost to velocity, and the hybrid barrel gives us a 20% boost to range and 17% boost to velocity, whereas with rapid fire, it's actually not a bad choice on this gun. It will boost our rate of fire up to 667 rounds per minute, giving us a noticeably better time to kill at 270 milliseconds for a 4-shot kill. However, this does reduce our range and velocity values by 10%. As for hardcore, while of course everything's usable, this gun really excels in hardcore because it'll be a 1-shot kill anywhere in the body at any range as long as you're not shooting through something. Then taking a look at Hipfire, our Hipfire spreads are a little bit worse than average for an assault rifle, not by much though. However, with its slower rate of fire, I wouldn't say this gun really excels in the Hipfire department, and I basically just reserve that for situations where I don't have much of a choice. And now let's take a look at recoil, and with this gun, it does have a very consistent recoil path. For the initial 7 to 10 rounds, this gun kicks essentially straight upwards, before starting to drift off to the left in a nice straight line. Like I said, it's very consistent, very predictable. While the recoil magnitude isn't very low, it is very easy to manage in my experience. However, I will say recoil stabilization is an area where this gun doesn't do great. You can see there's a little bit of that wobble as you're going up through the recoil path. So that's a stat that you may want to improve with attachments. Now, after that, let's have a look at our handling stats. And our aim down sight time is the slowest in the assault rifle category at 280 milliseconds. So that is a downside with this gun. And our sprint out time is also a little worse than average. It's not the worst in the assault rifle category, but it is worse than average. And it's a similar story with our slide to fire and dive to fire times, so handling is not an area where this gun necessarily excels. However, our reload add time is quite solid at just 1.57 seconds. That's noticeably better than average for an assault rifle, and we have a standard magazine capacity at 30 rounds. Then of course we could use either the flip mag or fast mag for faster reloads, or extended mag 1 or 2 for bigger mags, but slower reloads. In my experience, the standard 30 round mag is just fine considering the slower rate of fire. And then finally for the base stats of this gun, before we get into the launcher and prestige launcher, let's have a look at our mobility stats. And across the board, we're right around average for an assault rifle. There's nothing out of the ordinary here when it comes to mobility. And there we go. Now that we've got that covered, the unique thing about this assault rifle compared to the others is by default, you can swap over to an integrated underbarrel launcher. And if you get the prestige attachment, this is the tandem launcher, and it converts that into a 2-round burst version of it. And instead of covering one and then the other, I just wanted to make this a direct comparison between the two so you can learn about them at the same time. So starting this comparison off, with the standard version of the launcher, it takes 500 milliseconds to swap over to this mode, whereas with the tandem launcher, it's 420 milliseconds. Our magazine capacity with this is 5 rounds for the base launcher and 8 rounds with the tandem launcher. And our reload add time is faster with the tandem launcher compared to the base launcher as well, at 1.88 seconds. As for the projectile velocity, for the base launcher, it's roughly 120 meters per second, whereas the tandem launcher is a little bit faster at 136 meters per second. And then we also see a faster sprint to fire time with that tandem launcher at roughly 200 milliseconds compared to the roughly 300 milliseconds with the base version of the launcher. So the tandem is better in all of these areas. Next, for our rate of fire with these launchers, with the base 20mm launcher, we can fire it at 164 rounds per minute, so quite slow, whereas with the tandem launcher, we get a 560 round per minute fire rate within each 2-round burst. However, there is a 300 millisecond burst delay. As for damages, they're actually exactly the same per grenade fired. So by default, with a direct impact against somebody not using flak jacket, you're going to be dealing 59 damage per grenade. So it'll be a 2-shot kill with direct impacts. And that means it could be a 1 burst kill with the tandem launcher. Whereas when it comes to our splash damage, the radius on this is roughly 2.5 meters. And you will deal exactly 34 damage if the grenade explodes anywhere within that 2.5 meter range, as long as it's not a direct impact, of course. So it'll be a 3-hit kill with splash damage, unless the enemy is using flak jacket. So here are the values with flak jacket. A direct impact will now only deal 38 damage, so it'll be a 3-shot kill with direct impacts. Whereas a splash damage impact will deal 22 damage, so that means it's now going to be a 5-shot kill against a flak jacket user. So flak jacket is a very effective counter to this. And you can also see our time to kill potential values there with a 2 to 3 shot kill. The tandem launcher is going to be killing much faster with 2 direct impacts at just 107 milliseconds. Also, a couple final things I wanted to point out here. When using the launchers, you will show up on the radar as if you were firing an unsuppressed gun. And based on all my testing, no other attachment has an impact on how the launcher itself performs. So rapid fire doesn't increase your fire rate. Suppressors don't suddenly keep you off the radar. Recoil control attachments don't help with your launcher recoil. And same thing with like bullet velocity. It doesn't increase the projectile velocity of the grenades. Now, at the end of the day, I don't really like the launcher on this gun all that much. I think it's just a random gimmick. And while the tandem launcher is definitely better, I still don't really think it's all that good. And in my eyes, it isn't worth using most of the time. I would say its most useful feature is just finishing an enemy off after you shoot them directly and they take cover, but you know they're like just around the corner. You could easily just launch one of these around the corner to finish them off. But as far as like entering a fight, trying to fight somebody directly with this launcher, in my eyes, that's generally a bad idea because you don't know if they're going to be using flak jacket. If they are, you're just not going to win that fight. And even if they aren't, you probably aren't going to win that fight, and you'd be better off just shooting them with bullets. And there we go. Now that we've got that covered, I can move into a few excellent attachment combinations to use with the DS20 Mirage. And the first one I wanted to share is my balanced stealth build. So with this, we're using the ELO sight. I'm not a big fan of the iron sights on this, largely because I just feel like they're very obstructive, or it's more so the area surrounding the iron sights. It's too obstructive in my eyes. So I like using optics on this when possible. I've got the Recoil suppressor to help a bit with that recoil. The long barrel on there for a nice boost to our damage range. The Viceroy grip, which is going to be helping with our aim down sight, slide to fire, and dive to fire times. And then finally, we have the recoil sync unit to also help a bit with our recoil. And with all of that combined, we have a very accurate version of this gun on our hands. I feel quite confident stretching my ranges out. However, I've also improved my handling stats a bit, so I also feel a bit more comfortable in more aggressive situations as well. And that's really what I was going for with this build, is just versatility. Next, I have my gunfighter build, and this one's really designed around accuracy and range, because this gun does excel at longer ranges. So we once again have the ELO sight, the Recoil suppressor, and the long barrel on here. Then we have the force stabilizer hand stop, which helps with our horizontal recoil a bit. For our rear grip, we have the A1C control grip, and this one helps with first shot recoil, vertical recoil, but most importantly, gun kick. That's an area where this gun does struggle a bit, so it's nice to get that under control a bit. For our stock, we have the aim down sight movement speed stock, so we can strafe a bit more effectively in gunfights. For our laser, we have the 3mW motion strike. This one improves our damage range and recoil stabilization, which again, this gun definitely suffers from poor recoil stabilization, so that's nice. And then finally, we once again have the recoil sync unit for even more recoil control. And you can see here, this gun is very accurate, especially with the initial rounds fired. It's very, very tight and accurate. And we see a massive range increase at a 41.5% increase to our damage range. So this gun really excels if you want to stretch things out a little bit more. Now, finally, I do want to share my more aggressive build that I like using with this. This is my rapid fire build. And with this one, we are going to be using rapid fire, which increases our recoil. And therefore, to counteract that a little bit, I'm using the muzzle brake as my muzzle attachment instead of a suppressor like I normally would. For my underbarrel, I'm using the iron hold angled grip to help with our idle sway and aim walking steadiness a bit. So if I'm strafing in my gunfights, this is just going to be a lot more steady for me. For the rear grip, I'm using the Viceroy, which helps with aim down sight, slide to fire, and dive to fire times. And then finally for our stock, I'm using our aim walking speed stock, so I can strafe a bit more effectively in those fights. And with all of this combined, especially with rapid fire, it allows me to be a lot more competitive in close quarter situations with other guns. I'm not going to be stretching my ranges out because the recoil isn't nearly as good as my previous builds. There's definitely a lot more recoil here, so I will be trying to control my engagement ranges more. But at least I have a time to kill potential that can actually compete with many of the other guns in the game up close. So this is just an excellent setup if you are going to be playing on more like close quarters maps, for instance. And there we have it. That's going to wrap it up for today's gun guide on the DS20 Mirage. And when it comes to my thoughts on this gun, personally, I think it's pretty solid, especially as like a mid to long range gun. If your shot's on point, you can definitely excel with this at those longer ranges. But in saying that, up close where a lot of your gunfights will tend to take place, it's not amazing, it's usable, it's not bad, it's just not really that great, doesn't excel. And when it comes to that underbarrel launcher, even with the prestige attachment, as I said, I do think it's a bit gimmicky. I don't think it's really all that effective outside of maybe finishing off the odd kill here or there. And therefore, I pretty much just ignore that underbarrel launcher and use this gun normally. Now, of course, those are just my thoughts and opinions on the DS20 Mirage, and I'd love to hear what you guys think about this gun in those comments down below. Also, if you guys have missed any of the previous gun guides, I will leave a link to the playlist in the description of the video. If you enjoyed this one, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.